afternoon. Welcome to the Metropolitan Council Transportation Committee for April 8th, 2024, and call the meeting to order. First order of business is approval of the agenda. If there's no changes, we can proceed. All right, seeing none, we'll move to the next order of business, which is approval of the March 25th, 2024 minutes. Did anyone have changes or additions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Vento. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And the minutes are adopted. And now we're going to employee recognition, and today I'm turning it to MTS Executive Director Carlson.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and we have a couple photos to share because I think the pictures really help tell the story of what we're up to. But we have tonight recognition over a driver mate, what we're calling the driver mate pilot. Really, what I want to share is that behind me is the vanguard of a new era of how our vehicles connect, not with our network, but with our services and how our drivers use tools to complete their work. We're focused on Metro Mobility buses and a large project that's successfully completed or deployed a testing phase thanks to some remarkable contributions. And tonight we'll recognize a handful of the folks integral to this program. So like our buses and trains, the 700 plus small buses that deliver council transportation services are rolling technology rooms. They have several connected computers, networking devices, electronic systems that help our operators deliver service safely and efficiency. They include cameras, fare equipment, radios, onboard computers, and other things that log trips and provide instructions to drivers. Our current system is outdated, and here's a picture of the driver interface of the current mobile data computer, or MDT device. So the graphics interface looks dated, but that's just scratching the surface of its age and its limitations. These affect our operators' ability to deliver their work and provide a quality experience for our customers. This device is also no longer supported, and in fact, we need to manage an inventory of these, keep things together while we scale up the replacement pilot ahead of a full replacement. You can't really see small text at the top of this, but it says connection to dispatch is broken. Disconnect, one of the issues that we encounter with this device is lost connectivity, which can mean frustration here or there, but it can also mean 30 minutes of troubleshooting just to get the bus on the street and a route underway, and there's no more frustrating way to begin your day providing service to customers. This is the mapping functionality of the current device. So it looks pretty dated if you think about what a more modern interface might look like. The zoom and the other controls don't really operate intuitively, and the distances shown here are in yards. So if you imagine driving around and using yards as the distance, it's maybe tough to convert. One of the biggest customer complaints in Metro Mobility, one that you actually may hear about as council members, is the lack of real-time information on this current system. Drivers get stuck in traffic, especially during construction seasons like that coming up, where real-time information might have helped keep a route on time, might have helped somebody make it to their appointment. This is the system that we're replacing. So here's a picture of the new interface, and this is from a field visit the other day. This uses Google Maps, so a very familiar interface. It provides real-time information on traffic, on alternate routes, on road closures. Additional features like lane and turn planning are much more robust, and it makes an easier drive that allows attention to safety and attention to customer service. Of note is that this new device is also a weather-hardened tablet. It's not a proprietary piece of equipment like the device that it's replacing. So it gives us the flexibility to choose hardware that meets our service and doesn't rely on a single provider for support or product replacement. So here's just a quick look at the trip manifest, and our provider had put together a mock route that we could follow. We weren't actually picking up Daffy Duck, if you notice that on the screen. It's updated more cleanly in real time. It shows arrival and pickup times in an intuitive format. It shows the destinations. upon arrival at a pickup, information about the passenger, notes about the location, like an awning clearance, for example, or which door to go to, and fare information is displayed at the trip level. So really a new way that we can get information about our service to the driver in a reliable and connected way. In some ways, this device is just the tip of the iceberg for what this change means for us from a network standpoint. And what we'll be doing behind this project is actually moving our network in line with 5G communications for any future devices. It allows us to move to cloud-based solution with vendors going forward across systems. It allows for full redundancy of the network vehicles that vehicles are operating from. It provides for better security, and it provides much faster network speed. But the real proof is what the users think. In this case, what it means for our drivers and the service they provide our customers. And as testing occurs, drivers are completing feedback, and there's a picture of a couple of the forms here. We pulled a couple positive quotes here. Even more significant is the informal verbal input that we've received, often coming through short and positive statements from our drivers. It shows that they're comfortable with really a brand new system, and they're eager to expand this as fast as possible. So you see some of their own words here. Overall functionality is vastly superior. It usually operates impeccably, and it boots up immediately. So when we put this together, what we get for the effort that's been put in this project is faster trips through real-time information and better connectivity, more accurate destination information both on the route and at the stop, improved retention of drivers because they have much better tools to complete their work, and ultimately satisfied customers who benefit from these improved systems. So what makes this possible is a team effort, and here's a picture from a field visit we did last Friday, but I'm going to invite our recognition awardees to come on up, and we'll recognize them. From MTS, Leslie Steit is our manager of technology systems and the project manager for this effort. Leslie has kept this project moving forward and tirelessly worked to keep the pilot on track in addition to her day job, keeping MTS's fleet of 800 buses connected and moving with her mighty team of herself and one other person. The rest of the team recognized today is from Information Services. So PT Tatsiaka is the project manager for this initiative for IS. Dan Roiger from Endpoint was instrumental in the steps to configure the security management for these tablets. Jeff Baird from Endpoint has worked tirelessly to support the installation and configuration of each tablet. Rebecca Richards from Infrastructure has configured all the routers to support the network needs and the device needs. And Todd Ringhan from the applications team made all the server updates and changes, including an entirely new interface addition to make this function seamlessly. So we're very excited to roll this out. We're very appreciative of their efforts, and we recognize them today.
Thank you so much. This is such a great improvement, and I know our operators are going to be so happy. And just to be able to see things in real time, we know none of us could get around anymore without that, so I'm glad that we can offer that. So I'll meet you over here and hand out some awards. All right, we got Leslie. Come on over. I don't bite. Dan? Please clap. Rebecca? Thank you. And Todd. Congratulations. Thank you all. Thank you again. We really do appreciate it. I'm glad we had the opportunity to recognize you guys today. Now we're on to our next orders of business, and the first one is reports, so I'm turning it again to Charles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a reminder, council members, that there is still time to provide comments on chapters of the Transportation Policy Plan that have been distributed for your individual review. And a reminder that we request your comments by this Friday, April 12th. What we've distributed are the 2050 TPP chapters on goals, policies, and actions. So as a reminder, please send any comments to Jed Hansen. And a couple other reminders, do not send your comments to other council members or to TAB members. This is an open meeting consideration. Please refrain from discussing with other council members or TAB members outside of a publicly noticed meeting. We will have discussion on these topics at a future meeting. You'll send your individual comments, staff will compile them. They'll be presented and reported at a future meeting where council members can ask questions and discuss the draft chapters. We'll prepare a report that would include, again, for open meeting reasons, all the comments identified by members' names, and then we'd be revising the chapters and providing them at a later date along with a summary of the changes in response to comments that we received. All of this leading toward a formal public comment period for discussion and consideration by the public this summer.
Very good, thank you. Questions or comments? I'll just echo that. If you could please take a look, at least even if it's an overall thought and of how things are coming together. You know, we're doing the work on the TPP work group. We're a little ahead of the regional development guide on some of the things, and so we're trying to get some of the language and things to align. So even if it's a general comment, we would appreciate the feedback. I think that we're trying to capture as much input, not just from TAB, but from council members and other people as much as we can. I think when I look at the work that we've been doing at the plan, it's a much more people-facing plan than maybe we had historically, and I think it's because of all the engagement. So I would just appreciate it if you guys would participate.
Thank you.
Good, you bet. Now we're going to turn it to Metro, and I haven't turned mine in either yet, but I will. So turning it to Metro Transit General Manager Candaris.
Chair Barber, council members, the timely updates I have for you are going to be covered by our two information items this evening. So I don't have a report beyond that, but I'd be happy to take any questions if there are updates that you would like from me.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, good for tonight. Next is normally our Transportation Accessibility Advisory Committee report, but our representative, David Fenley, is in Indiana to watch the eclipse today. So we'll hope you had nice, sunny, clear skies to watch it all. And now we're going to turn to our next report, which is the Joint Labor Management Safety Committee update. We've got Ron Forrest and Rafael Valle here to present.
All right, good afternoon, Chair Barber, council members. I wish that our labor partners were here. It's good that you all hear from their perspective, but I will speak on their behalf, and I don't expect that they will disagree with anything that I tell you guys. As you know, we were able to get the agency safety plans completed. We put a lot of time and effort into that, and as a result of increasing our communication and getting to a better understanding, I think that we are now at a point where our meetings are productive, and I don't expect that we're going to experience the same challenges next year as we prepare the 2025 version. A couple of things that we did in order to strengthen the team and to bring some more efficiency is that we changed the membership structure. So all of the directors now, all the department directors are primary members. And the benefit of that is that when there's a decision to be made, the decision makers are right there in the room. The second thing we did is that, our labor partners, they told us that, look, we need some training. We want to bring a more informed perspective to our conversations, and we want to feel like we're contributing towards resolution from an experienced, with some experience. And so the last couple of weeks, we've been identifying some training for them. We've actually sent them to training. Two of them participated in our safety management systems training, and that was a week-long training. And while they were doing that, the rest of our labor partners, we sent them to some Transportation Safety Institute training, and that included threat and hazard awareness in a bus and rail environment. Okay. And we'll continue to, collaborate with them on additional trainings. We gave them a list of things to look at. And so, as we, continue through this process, we'll make sure that they get that. And it is just going to serve to strengthen the team. What else? So next on our agenda is de-escalation training. We recognize that operators need the tools, the verbal tools to de-escalate conflicts that they encounter. Not just operators, but this is going to actually, I should say, our public-facing workers, our frontline workers, is going to be offered to all of them. We're in the process of identifying exactly what we want. And so we've reached out to 6 of our peer agencies. That includes DC Metro, Houston Metro, King County, New Jersey Transit, Houston Metro, and there's one more that I'm forgetting about, but we reached out to them and we asked them, because they have very successful de-escalation training programs. So we wanted to collaborate with them and hear what their best practices were and some of their successes, and then discuss with them, how we should proceed with a more comprehensive de-escalation training. But in the meantime, what we have now is called aerosol training. It has a de-escalation component to it. Not really what we think we want, but that's what's available now. And so we've offered that class to all of our facilities workers. They've all gone through it. We've expanded the more class opportunity for all of our frontline workers to go through. And we continue offering that, we plan to continue offering those trainings throughout the year. We can have up to 20 people in each class, so, as long as people volunteer, because it's not a required training right now, but as long as they volunteer to go through this, we have space available. On April 18th, the JLMSC, labor and management members, we're all going to go through the training together. And then we're going to evaluate it, we're going to discuss it, and we're going to identify whether this is what we want, or if we want to build onto that, or if we want to have, something else in place that's just more comprehensive, that includes a classroom component and a scenarios-based practical application component. Okay? So we're going through that on the 18th. And in addition to that, we recognize that operators, even if they are successful at de-escalating conflict, our frontline workers are successful at de-escalating conflict, that there's still some stress associated with those interactions and those encounters with the public. And so the second component to that de-escalation training is peer support program. And so we are in the information gathering stage of that. And we're picking up where others left off, and we expect to see that program up and running, hopefully this year. Okay. Again, our relationship with the labor members, I believe it's productive, and whenever they get an opportunity to come here and speak with you guys, I'm sure they'll agree. And I'll end there, and if you guys have any questions.
Very good, thank you. Questions or comments? I just want to say thank you, and thank you for giving us kind of a good overview of everything. Really to see the change and the dynamic and the real collaboration between Metro and ATU and coming together and how we approach some of these issues, I think is fantastic. It's really actually refreshing to hear. So thank you very much for all the good work. And if you relay that same message to ATU, that we really appreciate all the work that everyone's done on this committee. And I love that you're going to go do the training together. because I think that, you'll learn a lot from each other, just even through something like that. Sometimes those shared experiences really are the things that kind of set discussions apart. Councilmember Pacheco.
Madam Chair, members, actually, I take the bus quite a bit, and there was an incident on the bus, and I had my daughter with me, but there was an incident at the door. The two guys were fighting, and the driver stopped, walked up, and said, where we stopped, he told them they can't come in. And he shut the door, and we just moved on, and so it just, they did very firm, and so it ended where it should be, and people they could continue their fighting, but we went on our route, and my daughter's eyes were like about this big at first, but then she saw how it was all handled, and I thought they did a very good job.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the operator, the last thing they want to do is to invite a threat onto the bus. Hopefully, they called it in, though, so that, we could get a police response. But yeah, that was the right thing to do.
Okay. Additional questions, comments? All right, thank you.
you.
Appreciate it. Now, we're on to our business items. There are no items on consent tonight. So our first is going to be business item 2024-99, a same week item, which is to authorize grant agreements with Southwest Transit and MVTA. And we have Heather Giesel here to present.
Hello, Madam Chair, committee members. I'm Heather Giesel. I'm the Director of Finance and Administration for MTS and CD. So this is just a routine item today. MTS is requesting that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to execute grant agreements with the replacement service providers, often referred to as the suburban transit providers, as follows. To Southwest Transit for capital assistance for battery electric vehicle purchases and deployment in the amount of $2,001,604. To Minnesota Valley Transit Authority for assistance on phases 2 and 3 of the Burnsville Bus Garage Modernization Project in the amounts of $3.5 million and $4.96 million respectively. And to MVTA for the projects identified in Table 1 on the business item. For the projects identified in Table 1, MVTA has requested to use their available undesignated funding held in the council's authorized capital budget to complete these projects. These funds are available for MVTA to use at their discretion for eligible public transportation projects. The council provides financial assistance to the suburban transit providers for transit projects and manages federal funding for providers through subrecipient grant agreements. Grant agreements proposed through this business item would enable capital projects that advance fleet electrification, modernize garage facilities, and complete customer and support facility projects advanced by transit providers in the region. Financial support from these grants comes from the federal low or no emission grant program, regional solicitation funding, federal bus and bus facilities funding, regional transit capital, motor vehicle sales tax, and the new metro area transportation sales and use tax. All of these projects were approved for funding in the Q1 carry forward amendment that was approved by the council on March 27th. I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Very good. Thank you, Heather. Questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2024-99, same week.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Carter. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're on to our second business item, which is 2023-63, which is right-of-way acquisition loan repayment from the City of Shoreview, and we have Tony Fischer here. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Council members, nice to be with you today. My name is Tony Fischer. I'm a transportation planner in MTS. And I have a business item with me today, but we also like to share an update on this program about once a year, and it's that time. So I'll start with that. So the right-of-way acquisition loan fund program, it was created by the legislature in 1982 to really create a revolving loan fund for the council to lend money to cities and counties for the purchase of highway right-of-way to really get it in front of inflation and development that might make highway improvements more costly. This is only for property that supports the Minnesota State Highway System and principal arterials in the Twin Cities area. And it was originally envisioned when we still had quite a few large highway improvements in our future, 610, 212, those kinds of things. So times have changed. So with this loan program, we're really looking at projects that are out there in the 5 to 20-year time horizon. Earlier than 5 years, these are projects that are probably funded and really they're projects that shouldn't need the loans. And then beyond 20 years, there's quite a bit of uncertainty, and it's probably not something we want to be taking these kinds of actions on. So again, we're looking at properties that are at the risk of appreciating, whether that's through just development pressures or normal inflation on the properties. And we are reviewing the projects to make sure they're consistent with the TBP. These corridors have to be officially mapped to provide that level of certainty that the property will be needed. And we are operating under requirements from about 2014 when we did a thorough evaluation of this program and its financial benefits to the public. So I just want to touch on the council's role in this program. We come to the council when we're proposing a new loan. We come to the council with repayments. Those could be partial repayments, or in the case of today, hopefully final resolution of a loan. And then there's another case where we wouldn't come to the council, and that's where the land is used as intended, and MnDOT or the project sponsor is going to repay the loan at that loan value. And so there's no financial impact on that transaction, and it's used as intended. So as you can imagine, there's less interest in the program. There's less need for highway right-of-way. But we have made loans in the recent past. We made 2 in the city of Lakeville for about $2 million to support the I-35 County Road 50 interchange. And then we've seen a number of repayments recently to support the Highway 10 projects in the city of Anoka and city of Ramsey. A year ago, I was before the Transportation Committee here with the business item where the city of Bloomington wanted to sell 5 parcels. MnDOT had determined that they were not going to be needed for the highway purposes. Those were sold at the appraised values. There was a substantial loss on those. There had been houses that were removed at the time they were purchased, and yeah, so there was a loss in that case. The status of the program at the end of the year, we had 38 outstanding loans with face value of approximately $30 million, and we have approximately $30 million cash balance in the loan fund. Later this year, we do anticipate Maple Grove paying another loan in the area of 94 and County Road 94 and the Highway 610 extension for almost $3 million. And we're working with the city of Ramsey on a small part of a parcel and small repayment. So we do estimate that we are holding approximately 18 loans with face value of $5.5 million that are anticipated for highway projects in Lakeville and Bloomington. And those will be repaid by MnDOT or the project sponsors at the time those projects, before construction begins. There are a number of loans that it's uncertain whether they're going to be needed. There are 18 loans worth $16 million in a number of cities where we need to work with MnDOT. We need to work with our local partners to really determine that they will or will not be needed in the future, and then hopefully move those towards resolution if they're not needed, if they don't need to be held. So some work ahead for the program. We are responding to requests for new loans and repayments. We need to work with MnDOT on the loans I noted to really determine which ones need to be held and which ones could be repaid, and then seek repayment in the cases where those aren't needed. And then we are developing a substantial balance in the fund, and as highways need less and less right-of-way, there's a real question is there's a better use for those funds. So we want to have a conversation with stakeholders about that, bring that conversation to council, And then eventually, just because statute doesn't anticipate other uses for the funds, it would require legislative action. So just before I get to the business item of today, I want to touch on why the RALPH program might accept losses a little bit more generally. I mentioned, we're buying this right-of-way to support highway projects, and that's really the intended outcome. There are cases where the projects only need a part of that property, and they only purchase that part. And then there are other cases where the parcel is no longer needed for the project, and we want to sell that on the open market. And that's the case here today. And there's a couple of guiding documents that we're looking to as to how we resolve these transactions. There's language in statute that supports, I think, the business item today, and the loan agreement today. The loan agreement in this case supports this proposed resolution. So business item 2024-63 before you concerns with a 2006 loan that we made to the City of Shoreview. That was approximately $6 million. That was for the improvements at I-694 and Rice Street interchange. Since the time the loan was made to when Ramsey County developed the project, they were able to design an improvement that needed quite a bit less right-of-way. You can see what they purchased in the purple and blue color here. So at that time, they did repay that part of the loan in proportion to the part of the property that they needed. Approximately $800,000 was repaid at that time, and there remains about $5.2 million outstanding. We have worked with the City of Shoreview. Both agencies have had appraisals done, and we've landed on a proposal of repayment of $4.8 million. It is a number that fits within the ranges of both agencies' appraisals. And the loss could be due to market timing. This was purchased before 2008-09 when real estate dropped quite a bit in value. And then just more recently, development trends and interest rates have caused some projects to fail. So staff is proposing this business item before you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council members? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2024-63.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Chambliss, second by Councilmember Morales. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Thanks, Tony. All right, we are on to our third and actually fourth business item. We're bringing the same person up here. First is the 2025-95, which is electric bus and charger purchase, and 2024-98, which is also electric bus and charger purchase. And we have Jeremiah Riter here to present. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Jeremiah Riter, Assistant Director of Bus Maintenance for Metro Transit. I'm here to present the proposed action that the Metropolitan Council authorized the Regional Administrator to execute Contract 24P077 to exercise the bus purchase options utilizing State of Washington Master Contract 06719 with Gillig to purchase 8 40-foot electric buses and 6 electric bus chargers for the council's regular route service in the amount not to exceed $13,713,087. The Low-No grant for 2021 featured 8 40-foot buses that are all electric and 6 in-depot chargers. The FTA award amount was $4,090,000 or $90,140. The zero emissions bus transition plan, which we also refer to ZEB-TP. The zero emissions transition plan was accepted on business item 2022-5 and presented February 9th of 2022. Authorize the Metropolitan Council to adopt the zero emissions bus transition plan, known as the ZEB-TP, for submittal to the Minnesota State Legislature as required by Minnesota State statute. Part of the ZEB plan include the vehicle procurement measured in percentage of buses purchased over the time horizon. The target was between 2022 and 2027 to at least purchase 20% of Metro Transit's 40-foot bus replacement purchases with electric 40-foot buses. The transition plan also includes a strategy to seek available discretionary federal funds through programs like the Low or No Emissions Grant Program. This business item advances that implementation of the ZEB transition plan. Some key elements to the procurement side of it, utilizing the Washington State contract, Washington State Department of Enterprise Services Cooperative Agreement for Rolling Stock. Some of the highlights of that are utilizing it's ready to use, it's compliant with the FTA, it provides competitive pricing, connects top suppliers with end users ourselves, satisfies the procurement process, and is federally compliant, and is authorized by the council. So as the proposed action is to the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to exercise bus purchase options utilizing State of Washington master contract with Gillig to purchase 8 40-foot electric buses and 6 electric buses, bus chargers for the Metro Transit regular route service in the amount not to exceed $13,713,087.
Don't worry, they'll figure it out.
I'm already
Thank you.
out.
Very good, thank you. I think we have some, Councilmember Joker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Jeremiah. I have 2 questions, and maybe one of the slide will come back. I was going to ask for the slide under the utilization. I'm guessing this is not the first time we'll make a electric bus charge purchase and the purchase of the electric chargers. So is there a reason why we're not issuing an RFQ? So that's the first question. And then the second question I have is, under the utilization, you kind of walked through at a really high level why going through this process, sort of going with a co-op agreement or using State of Washington's is more expedient. But what I am trying to understand is, if you could tell me, would there be an impact? You know, there are bus companies here in Minnesota who are building electric buses. In terms of electric vehicle charging stations, you know, I don't know if the purchase means what the impact on building of the charging itself, what that looks like on impact to the labor locally that are union-based. So I'm trying to understand, you know, I got the high-level utilizations and why this is a good idea, but I'm trying to understand the impact at the local level. And is there a reason why we're choosing to do this rather than taking the time to actually issue our own RFQ?
Madam Chair, council members, Jody Jacoby, Chief Procurement Officer with the Procurement Department. Great questions, and we have procured vehicles off of this cooperative before. In fact, we brought a joint powers agreement through to the council to enable this opportunity to purchase off them. This is very unique and new that we have a federally compliant procurement for vehicles. And in fact, it's very much preferred by the Federal Transit Administration from a perspective of standardization across the country. And we have a number of different manufacturers that are available to be purchased off of. And there are Minnesota, as you're aware, New Flyer is in Minnesota, and that's one of the companies that are available. On average, a procurement for rolling stock takes a lot of time because there's a lot of different technical specifications and different components to review. So typically a procurement from SIM approval to contract execution, and then you have the build time, takes about 6 months. So having this cooperative already available that we can pull orders from to meet the specification of the business unit and save not only a considerable amount of administration, but also a lot of efficiency from that perspective.
could we go, could I do follow-up? Could I hear Jeremiah on the second question I'm trying to understand, which is the impact on the labor and the business units here in Minnesota? And then I have a follow-up comment. That's
Yep.
okay.
Madam Chair, committee members, so some of the chargers are actually produced inside of Minnesota, and that's at Charge Point, which is in Brooklyn Center. The bus side of it is Gillig, that's manufactured in California. Some of the lessons of the transition plan is learning what technologies are available to us. And we have already some of the new Flyer buses that are all electric. So this is an opportunity that we're able to use Gillig and explore what type of technologies they have to offer as well.
Could I do a follow-up comment? So this is a comment, and I'm going to voice sort of my opinion of where I'm sitting. I sort of understand what you're saying about both the expediency as well as the, this is a great cooperative agreement and you've brought to the council before. But from where I stand, this is not a one-time or a time-limited funding that's available from the federal funds to apply for electric purchases. And I think even if it takes longer, it is worth issuing an RFQ and developing our own process, because the electric transition, the transitions to electrification, whether it's purchases of the bus or fleets or charging stations, it is a long-term process, and we're talking about billions of dollars from federal funding that is available. And if we fully implement Met Council's vision around electric buses, my personal desire is for the council to actually take our time and do our own RFQ, and maybe I'm missing a bigger picture here, but really take the time to do this. Because I want to make sure when we talk about electrification and transition to cleaner transportation solutions, that we're bringing jobs, we're supporting the local businesses. And it's really good to hear that both New Flyer and ChargePoint based in Brooklyn are part of this. But I do wonder to myself as a council member that represents metro area and Minnesota, what it looks like if we took the time to build our own RFQ and looked at businesses there, what that means. And I'm not sure when State of Washington developed this master plan, but that would be my curiosity and my encouragement that we actually take the time to do this. Because I expect in a couple of months that we'll be right back talking about another bus purchase and more electric charging stations, and not just for us, but also for other transit agencies regionally that also link on purchases with us.
Okay, first, I'm going to turn to General Manager Canderas and then probably to Jody.
Chair Barber, Councilmember Dolkart, appreciate what you're raising. And I think in this particular case, this was actually a no and low emissions grant we received back in 2021. And so I think part of why we're taking this approach is so we can get those buses ordered and on the street. But we're also going to be bringing our annual zero emissions bus transition plan update to you either in May or June. And that would be an opportunity for us to talk about our approach to procurement as well. So just want to offer that, hear what you're raising, and I appreciate it. And I think we can provide you a more whole cloth update in the coming months too.
Okay.
Jody, did you have anything to add?
I'll just say, Madam Chair and council members, it is definitely efficient and administratively wise to go forward. Additionally, with an order of this such, we likely would not have the breadth and the depth of manufacturers and models to choose from because it's not considered a significant order. So we're not only being able to process a purchase order quickly with the specifications needed for the work, we're getting very good pricing and leveraging that pricing.
Could I do it another?
Let's see if other council members have additional questions too. All right, Councilmember Dolkar.
Yeah, I understand in this case, this was the expedient move, but I think to General Manager Candera's point, the desire to see a much more comprehensive approach as we're thinking, again, electrification of all the fleets that Met Council owns, not just 1 to 2 bus purchases. So that would be my encouragement.
All right, additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2024-95.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Chambliss. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And the motion carries. I'll turn it back to you, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The proposed action for business item 2024-98 or -98 is that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to execute contract 23P-142 to exercise bus purchase options utilizing State of Washington Master Contract 06719 with Gillig to purchase 12 40-foot electric buses and 16 electric bus chargers for the council's regular route service in the amount not to exceed $20,449,000. Much of this is the same as the last business item, but here's some keynote points on the 2023 Low-No Grant. This one includes 12 40-foot electric buses, 16 chargers, 12 are stationary, and 4 are for the maintenance shops. So a mobile charger that can be pushed around to the bus while it's in for maintenance. The FTA grant award is for $15,404,100, and this covers both chargers and buses. Same set of facts for the procurement on this particular business item as well. And then the proposed action that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to exercise bus purchase options utilizing the State of Washington Master Contract 06719 with Gillig to purchase 12 40-foot electric buses, 16 electric bus chargers for Metro Transit regular route service in the amount not to exceed $20,449,000.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Carter.
Yeah, I just wanted to, so Gillig is located in California, right? And Washington State, we're using are we partnering with them when we're doing this?
Madam Chair, Council Member, we're part of a joint powers agreement that allows us to use their competitively procured procurements.
Okay, so
So they
we're coming
issue,
under.
yeah, we
Okay.
basically are utilizing the procurement vehicle that they've competed for transit agencies across the country.
And so how long have they been involved in this? Because it seems like they've been around a while with this.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Carter, I'm not sure the exact number of years that the Washington State Department of Enterprise Services has had this federally compliant procurement, but I will find out and get back to you.
Okay, I wouldn't mind seeing a visual of this at some point so I can see where all the, round pegs in the square holes, hopefully. So are we at some point going to, as Councilman Dokar kind of alluded to, are we going to divert from this at some point in the future, or are we going to always partner with them?
Madam Chair, Council Member, we definitely are looking at what is the best option on behalf of Metro Transit and the region. And so I believe each of these situations are looked at case by case, considering, as you've identified, a number of different important factors to consider.
General Manager Kinderis.
Chair Barber, Councilmember, yeah, just a couple of thoughts. When we bring that broader zero emissions bus transition plan to you, I think these are good pieces that we can kind of lay out our entire approach. I think one piece to keep in mind is the bus manufacturing industry is really down to 2 manufacturers right now, Gillig being one of them. And to Ms. Jacoby's earlier point, we're, as transit agencies, receiving a lot of encouragement from the FTA and from the bus manufacturing industry to really do partnerships like this to help just keep the production moving. But we can provide a much broader look at that to hopefully explain kind of the decisions we're making as these procurements come forward.
Good. All right, Councilmember Dolkar.
I have thank you, Madam Chair. I have two information requests. If you are providing sort of the look into State of Washington's master's contract, would it be possible, being compliant with FTA means a whole lot of different things. And the areas that I'm curious about, and I think it would be good for all the council members to have, is the compliance with both Buy America, which is the labor pieces to that. And then the second is the DBE goal for the companies who are, to bus manufacturing. Like, that would be really good to see, I think, if we are going to get information about State of Washington. And then the second, I will say, I think one of the reasons why I was raising questions is because I looked at both presentations before Jeremiah started speaking and saw that Gillig and knowing New Flyers is back within our own state. That was the question I was raising. And so I think the information I'm looking for, the second information I'm looking for is how often do we have cooperative agreements or purchases like this where we partner with another state or another transit that is to do this sort of purchases, and for what reasons? And I think this one, again, in this situation, it makes sense because this is, especially if the money was from 2020, 2021, this was really, really early stages of not knowing where the federal fundings are, but now we're looking at a whole different landscape. We're not talking about couple of millions here and there. We're talking about billions of dollars available from FTA and in the infrastructure bill and in the IRA that are now available for electric purchases. And then what we do as Met Council, I think, will matter going forward. So, yeah.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Dolkar, this, just to answer a few of your questions, and I hear what the ask is about coming back with an information item on this specific cooperative to better understand, or a smaller group meeting, and my team and I would be happy to facilitate that to ensure that we all understand. But this procurement is compliant with Buy America requirements, and it also has all rolling stock vehicles have DBE goals, but they're set differently. They're set through the transit vehicle manufacturer, where they are submitted directly to FTA, the Federal Transit Administration, and prior to being allowed to be on the cooperatives or on any of that's part of our due diligence, is to ensure that they have this it's actually TVM, Transit Vehicle Manufacturer Goal, submitted to the FTA and approved by the FTA before we can procure.
Councilmember Morales.
I'm glad you brought up the goals, because I did some research right now as we were talking, and the actual co-op agreement has 0% for WBE and 0% for MBE goals for the contracts that they give out. And this contract cooperative started April 1st, 2021, and expires March 31st, 2025, for anyone that was asking about the cooperative agreement.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Council and Committee members. Ashanti Payne, Assistant Director, Office of Equity and Equal Opportunity. I've been listening to the conversation, so I think I understand the discussion. There is some level of nuance to transit vehicle manufacturers. As Chief Procurement Officer Jacoby has stated, that these transit vehicle manufacturers are required to submit their FTA goal, as we do, to FTA, and they're monitored, and if they don't meet it, shortfall analysis, that whole process. I think the part that I think is missed, that I think there is opportunity, even though with Gillig, there may not be DBs impacted in this state, probably more opportunity with the manufacturer like New Flyer. There is DBE participation in that process, in the manufacturing distribution, transportation process that doesn't get accounted for at the state level, but it is accounted for at the federal level. So you might not see it in that contract or what that participation was, but there are DBEs participating in the process. It also avoids some of the issues that you might hear from some of your constituents with proprietary products and processes where the feds don't get involved with that. They make the manufacturers engage distributors that are DBEs when they might not otherwise do so if they didn't have that requirement.
All right. All right, additional questions or comments? All right, and as General Manager Candera says, we do get annual updates on the zero emissions bus plan, so it is available on our website. Go out and take a look at it. We have a pretty well thought out plan, so it'll be lots of these conversations over the next few years because we have a very intentional effort to electrify a significant portion of our fleet and good strategy behind that. So we want to make sure that everyone's well informed, but we'll make sure that they get the materials out to everyone so you have a chance to review ahead of our information item. Councilmember Dolkar.
I promise this is the, thank you, Madam Chair. I promise this is the last comment. So I am looking at the same information Councilmember Morales was looking at. And, you know, the diversity goals is all set as 0, and I don't know if that is truly how state of Washington. So again, my encouragement is the next time we do buy buses, unless it's like timely where you have to turn around within 3 months of purchase and facilitate money, like really taking a comprehensive, which sounds like it's going to happen soon with me, but just us setting our own standards for what we want to see. So our values align with the purchases we want to make, because the purchases we're making, $20 million. That's the dollar impact that we're talking about, so thank you.
Okay, and Madam Chair, Councilmember Dolkar, one thing we can do as a more transparent way to demonstrate that is list the transit vehicle manufacturer for example, for Gillig, what they've submitted to the FTA on future business items as well.
All right, additional questions or comments? All right, seeing no more questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2024-98. Moved by Councilmember Morales, is there a second? Second. Seconded by Councilmember Vent. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you all, and thanks for the good discussion. Now we're on to business item 2024-97, which is solid waste and recycling material removal, and we have Jeff Freeman and Jody Jacoby here.
Good evening, Madam Chair and council members. My name is Jeff Freeman. I am a sustainability manager at Metro Transit. Today we bring forward an amendment to waste contract 20P040. The situation is that we had gone out for a bid earlier this year, and through the procurement process, the one vendor who submitted a bid and our current vendor was deemed non-responsive. Through the process, we've come up to the end of the contract, and in order to revise and reissue an IFB, we need to extend this contract with our current provider and the one and only who did bid to carry us out to the end of the year so we can continue to pick up our waste and refuse and recycling and just be good citizens and follow the law. So we have this amendment for Jody. I think Jody is going to talk a little bit about process.
Madam Chair, council members, indeed, just to add on to some of the information Jeff has added, we had a single bid submitted by Waste Management, and with their bid, they submitted conditions. And so after looking at it and collaborating with the business unit and other internal partners, including the Office of General Counsel, they were deemed to be non-responsive. And so we took time to look at what the best approach is, again, working with the business unit to consider all options, and also engaging with the contractor as this appears to be some industry-specific terms and conditions that we need to learn about. So the next time we go out for a competitive bid, that we are preparing the bid, including the terms and conditions that are amenable to contractors submitting a proposal or a bid.
All right. Any questions or comments from council members? So the proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to execute an amendment to contract 20P040 with Waste Management of Minnesota for pickup and disposal of solid waste, recycling, and organic streams for a total contract value not to exceed $7,500. That I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Moved by Councilmember Chambliss, seconded by Councilmember Morales. Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And that ends our business for the evening. So if there's no objections, I would recommend that items 1, 3, and 4 go non-consent to the full council, and 2 and 5 go on consent agenda. Okay, got it? Okay. All right, now we are on to our information items. The first one is the light rail capital maintenance and construction update. We have Brian Funk, Kirsten Thompson, Carlos Cachola, and Mark Lehman here. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Chair Barber and council members. It's good to be here again today. We have a good team effort to present an overview of work that's coming up both this year and then a little bit of a forecast into some other construction projects that are both of large size and scale, and just want to make sure that that's on your radar. At the last council meeting or last Transportation Committee and then council meeting, a couple of items with long lead times for the Blue Line State of Good Repair project was brought forward, and I indicated that we'd be coming back to share a little bit more detail. So I'll get us started, but it's really going to be a team effort, and so instead of passing the clicker around, I'll run that, and we'll be sure to leave some time at the end for any additional questions you have. So we'll start out with Kristen.
All right, thanks, Brian. Kristen Thompson, Director of Asset Management. So I wanted to, before we get into the details, as Brian previewed of the summer's work, just share a little bit more context about how we think about maintaining our system and the tools we have available to us to do that. So as we're continuing to build out our metro network, it's really important, increasingly important, to maintain the system that we have today to serve the riders who are counting on us, both for these big events like the Taylor Swift concert pictured there, as well as everyday needs like work, school, errands, and so on. So proactively planning and delivering these major maintenance projects contributes to the safety of our system, reliability, as well as rider experience. For example, the rail improvements we're talking about today will lead to smoother rides and fewer delays on the system. Last fall, I was here and shared a little bit of background about Metro Transit's asset management program. So broadly speaking, asset management encompasses everything that we're doing as an organization to maximize the value that we get from our assets, and that's all in service of our mission, of course, which is to serve riders in the region. We really work together across the division to deliver that value and to align with the FTA requirements. The sales tax that was passed last spring has been really transformational for our ability to maintain the system. It puts us in the position not just to project what the long-term needs are, but also to actually have the financial means to meet them and plan for that. So again, as we're continuing to add to the system, we'll continue to develop our internal systems and processes for planning these investments based on the condition of our assets and our regional priorities. Planning for these investments really does have a long time horizon, from long-range planning, where we look decades out at what the potential needs might be, into the planning and delivery of projects like the ones you're going to hear about today, and ensuring that work minimizes the impacts. We work to minimize the impacts of construction on our riders, because of course people still need to use the system to get around even while we're maintaining it. At every step, we do a tremendous amount of collaboration and coordination, both internally, across a number of departments, engineering, facilities, rail systems, finance, procurement, operations, planning, as well as working with stakeholders in the region, like the vendors who do some of the work for us, sporting and event schedules, and so on. So with that context in mind, I'm going to hand it over to Carlos here to share more about how various aspects of the light rail systems maintenance are managed within Metro Transit.
Good evening, Chair, council members. Carlos Canchola, I'm Director of Rail Systems Maintenance. And I'd like to talk to you about our rail systems team. It's a group of 4 departments. We're about 75 head count, about 15% shorthanded today. So we are hiring if you know anyone interested in it. Track department is in charge of course, the rail and everything below it. We have our signals department, in charge of signal switches, and part of our signals department, we have our technical services where we have an engineer that works with our capital team and our expansion projects. We do have our communications department who are our low voltage electricians that work on mainly platforms, cameras, telephones, signage, things like that. And our attraction power team, which are our high voltage electricians that work on the overhead catenary system, bringing our power to our trains and switch heaters and things like that. Our primary focus is for emergency response and repairs, our federal required inspections, and of course our right-of-way cleaning and graffiti removal. Most of our work is done at night, so we do it after our revenue hours. Requires proper protection to be out on the right-of-way.
Chair, committee members, my name is Mark Lehman. I'm the manager of Rail Engineering and Engineering Facilities Group. Yes, same thing as Carlos. We are hiring. I've got positions available right now for skilled people in project management and rail engineering skills. So getting more applications every day, so things are looking up for that. You know, everybody knows Blue Line is 20 years old, Green Line is, you know, already 10. So there's maintenance is starting to creep up, especially on the Blue Line. We have projects in our queue that we'll be talking about a little bit later that it's to upgrade the track and signal systems through our state of good repair and special track work programs. Along with that, we will continue as well as maintain all the stations and park and rides associated with those alignments. We also perform bridge inspections and repairs, and those repairs will be part of some of these shutdowns that we'll be doing. And these projects improve reliability of the system and add to long-term strength of and value of the system. We try to minimize how much impact we have to the public. So when we have a shutdown, we try to consolidate all the work into this one segment. So to minimize how many shutdowns we have and try to shorten, keep that shutdown as short as possible. To maintain service, we typically work with bus operations and set up bus bridging that will provide bus service in replacement of the LRT that are shut down during those shutdown events.
All right, and then as Mark said, you know, based on the size and scope and complexity of some of the work will require trains to not be operating. And so in the case where we're operating replacement bus service, we try to really go overboard and have implored a number of strategies that we've learned over the last 20 years to communicate, as noted here, with all of our partners, so people who are planning events in the Twin Cities and maybe steering customers towards our services, including, you know, University of Minnesota, Meet Minneapolis, the airport, Mall of America, and so on. In addition, we're directly communicating to our customers via subscription service as well as at the stations and onboard the vehicles, utilizing a full suite of social media. And then during the shutdown at key locations, we're actually using our employees to go out as station ambassadors as well as our transit supervisors to make sure that people who are looking for our service are redirected to the right place. On our website here, metrotransit.org/construction, it's our one-stop shop, if you will, for all of those resources, and it's updated based on the impacts that are happening with each construction project. And you'll see our phone number noted here where we do have language line services to be able to provide information through interpretive services in a variety of languages as noted. Just two quick examples so you can see, I think as most folks know, the operation that these folks are responsible for and carrying out is big, it's complex, it's very advanced technology. And so here's one example of some airport tunnel work. We had replaced the intrusion detection system, and so if somebody crosses into that tunnel, we want to know about that. It's not a safe place for somebody to be as a pedestrian, and so our rail control center gets an alarm. Our police are dispatched along with airport police. Carlos's team and Mark's team and others work really hard to make this a successful endeavor so that we can have a safe operation under the airport Terminal 1. And then here's another example of some summer work. Obviously, this is a situation where we're doing platform repairs, and in this case, these workers are replacing the tactile edge on the front of the platform. And so in that kind of situation, we're not able to operate trains. They need to be able to set up and complete that work over the course of a weekend. And so in this case, we were able to replace that train service with buses for the entire downtown segment. And as was noted earlier, try to get a lot of work done in those consolidated windows. And so to that end, I'm just going to hit on a few of the highlights with some of the projects that we have dates set for this year. Coming up in just a couple weeks, we'll be doing some work on the Green Line to repair rail brakes. And so as part of the general manager reports throughout the winter, we had a fairly mild winter, but we did have some really cold days where we saw the welded rail come apart, required us to put in place speed restrictions. And I know, Councilmember, we experienced that together on some of our Great Day in Transit rides. And so we'll be able to go in and fix that, along with some work that needs to be completed for Gold Line fiber connections, and then some coordination around additional cleaning activities. Again, really looking to maximize the effort so that customers are able to see very quickly how that inconvenience over the course of a weekend lines up and translates to better service. On the heels of that, in early May, we'll have about 9 days of continued work from a project that started in 2022 between Mall of America and the airport. And so we'll be running replacement bus service down from the airport south to Mall of America, and we're finalizing those details so that can be communicated to customers ahead of time. We do have plans to be able to operate the airport shuttle between the terminals to minimize the inconvenience for that on-site airport travel. When we look at our ridership, we know that that's a very important connection, and that was something that Mark's team ensured that we had within the contract, was the ability to maintain that service. And then moving into July, finding a nice date in the summer that lines up without major civic activities is really challenging. But thankfully, we do have this opportunity identified to do some well-needed work in both downtown Minneapolis as well as on the University of Minnesota campus. And so you can see here that that'll include some additional rail brake repairs, work over on the Washington Avenue Transit Mall on campus, some bridge work in downtown Minneapolis. The City of Minneapolis has the opportunity to get in and do things like skyway cleaning and maintenance. And so the Green Line will be impacted between Stadium Village and Target Field, and then Blue Line will be able to get into and serve US Bank Stadium Station. So we'll be running bus replacement accordingly. And then, we have a little bit more work, but we're waiting for some additional dates to be set. Vikings home games are a time when we don't want to be operating replacement bus service. And so as we watch for that after the NFL draft, we'll be able to sort of dial in some additional plans. And much of this work as well is weather dependent. And so these dates are really important to us, but there's some things that may or may not be able to be done. We have had really fortunate timing lately with pretty dry summers, and so that's allowed us to get a lot of work done, but we know that that may not always be the case. So And then, real quick, and I had promised Mark that I would do just sort of a real high-level overview, but he'll be able to answer additional questions on this topic. So as was mentioned, 2025 and 2026 are going to be big years for work that's really required on the Blue Line. That track has been in the ground for more than 20 years already. We've been in revenue service for 20 years this coming June. And so there's a lot of work over the course of the last probably 7 years that we've been planning to be able to address things from the Mall of America all the way up into downtown. And so we have completed some work downtown years ago on this. We also, as mentioned earlier, did a lot of work between the mall and the airport. And so this additional leg will be basically from Terminal 2 up to the Cedar Riverside Station. And so we do have funding for this project, and it's in phases that goes through, and it's part of the adopted capital improvement program. We have business items that are coming through, as you saw with Mr. Winek a couple weeks ago, and you know, it's really just about taking care of our system. And so as we continue to move forward later this year for the larger notice to proceed through that construction contract, we'll be looking at that sometime this fall. This is also in coordination with the Lake Street Midtown Station work that this council authorized us to continue working on earlier this year, as well as some necessary bridge work along Hiawatha. And so looking forward into 2025 is when the project will begin. The teams are doing their best to minimize the impacts on customers by using strategies such as single tracking and some other, you know, really innovative approaches to be able to maintain train service whenever possible. We do know that there will be some bus replacement work in 2025, but, you know, really forecasting ahead, just putting it out on everyone's calendars to look. The summer construction season in 2026 is going to be the major construction time period, really looking at some significant bus replacement service needs for extended periods of time. And so, as mentioned, today is not the time to provide every single detail because we're still working on all of the plans and making sure that everything continues to march ahead as we're anticipating. But that includes, you know, working with our service development department and our bus and rail operations and really getting all of that in order over the next year or so, so we're able to roll that out in an orderly fashion. And then this is sort of a scaled down track diagram just to show some of the impacts. On the right side of this slide is where our Franklin maintenance facility is and the Cedar Riverside Station. Back to the left goes down to 46th Street, and the call outs on here are just indicating a number of the areas where we'll be doing that work. As was mentioned, the team's working on the track work, the roadway crossings. We have, you know, more than 20 winters now where salt has been thrown down on those tracks in the embedded areas at rail crossings, and the track is really starting to show its age. And so that's just an easy indicator, but I'm really looking forward to the work that the team's going to be doing, and then the opportunity for the council members as well to be able to see what that looks like during those shutdowns. And then on the south segment from the Hiawatha or Minnehaha Tunnel down south to the Airport Terminal 2, you can see there's additional work that's called out here. So I can't say enough about the great work being done by the team to really think through what are all the opportunities and how do we make this investment. It's truly a generational investment to be able to do this, and I'm really proud of everything I've seen so far. So. Mark or Carlos, anything else that you'd want to add or call out of high significance?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay.
All right. And with that, I just, again, want to thank the team here today and be able to happily answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to all of you. This is an interesting update, and I'm curious. I get what replacing and/or upgrading means as it relates to the systems and the switches and such, but at 46th where it says remove switches, what's the impact of that?
Chair, members of the committee, We analyzed operations of the area and alignment, vertical curves, and how the track sets up. 46th Street, as you can see in this segment, 46th Street's being removed because we are installing down the track on the way right there near 50th. And that's going to be a double crossover, so allow for both direction movement. And with the geometry of the track, we felt that was the best place to put it. So it increases our operational efficiency.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Chambliss.
Oh, okay, I think this is related possibly to his answer, and that was just getting more information on the benefits and advantages of the upgraded signaling. If there's safety improvements, does it help people move through more efficiently? That was just my question.
Chair, members of the committee, that's a very good question. The reason for this, there's a couple of things. For one, all especially like the signal equipment, the manufacturer told everybody, hey, we're not making this anymore. We're not going to support it. And so this is aging on the vine kind of thing, and we need to get this replaced as soon as possible. Everything that's being taken out of these areas, we will reuse until those other areas get replaced. But the primary benefit for this is going to be allowing us to be able to single track more, so we can have maintenance on one track while actually running at on-time performance on the other track for the most part. And it's going to allow us for just, I guess primarily that's the key thing, is just being able to have more maintenance time on the opposite tracks while maintaining revenue service.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments? I just have one, is that, thank you for presenting this, and I hope we can stay updated on it. It's not always the most glamorous thing we do, but probably one of the most important things we do. And I can tell you, I ride the Blue Line, and so the work that was done between the mall and Bloomington Central and the big corridors that go through there, it's much quieter and much nicer ride now because we put a lot of time and work into it. And so this maintenance work is so important. So it's really good to hear about it. So yeah, thank you all, and we'll look forward to more updates. All right, on to our final information item, and we're leaving Mr. Funk at the table there to talk about light rail transit service.
All right, well, thank you for having me for a second information item today. This is an update that, again, General Manager has mentioned to some degree, but I wanted to provide you with a little bit more details as the teams have been working towards making some improvements to our light rail service and what we're up to, hopefully over the course of the rest of this year. I had given this presentation to the Transportation Accessibility Advisory Committee last week to be able to receive feedback from that set of members, as well as people that they're representing. And so I think that from my perspective anyways, it was well received, what we're trying to accomplish here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that this group has as well. And so we are looking at, preparing to add light rail service with improved frequency this coming August. Of course, that's predicated on hiring enough enough train operators, but we also have a concern where we are not at our ideal staffing on the maintenance side as well. And so we're operating 3-car trains today, all day, every day, regardless of ridership demands. And so I think that for those of you who have been out riding, you'll see that there's quite a bit of extra space, especially on select days. And when we analyze that, it looks like we have unnecessary mileage accumulating that results in those vehicles needing to be inspected more frequently than really they should, placing additional stress and strain on our already reeling maintenance teams who are working really hard to keep up with our regular repair. And so we don't want to continue to dig a deeper hole or start to really defer maintenance. And so one of the things that we wanted to analyze was how do we use some data to right size the size of the train based on our expected demand. And so doing that accomplishes a number of things in addition to saving on an annualized basis, upward of 1 million miles and $500,000 in parts and labor for what we think will be some unnecessary mileage that's being accumulated. We also know that this will continue to save off the future overhaul programs. And so the more miles we're accumulating, the faster those overhauls come due. And it's possible that by deploying a really smart strategy that utilizes the number of train cars per train in a more tailored fashion, that we may be able to minimize or even defer one of those midlife overhauls across our fleet, which has an impact of tens of millions of dollars, if not more. And so just a refresher on what our service looks like. We currently are starting our service just after 4 in the morning on both Blue and Green Line, operating the full length of the service in both directions. The airport shuttle running between Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. And so it's mostly served by those regular service trains, but then when that frequency starts to be reduced or we don't have them on the line in the overnight hours, we have a special shuttle train that goes out to operate that service between the two terminals. And then the service starts to wind itself down between 11 and midnight. And so being able to do that allows the teams, Carlos's and teams that Mark lines up, the ability to stay up to date with our maintenance and our cleaning and the tasks that need to happen. We have been operating since the summer of 2022 a 15-minute service frequency from about 5 in the morning to 9 at night based on how many train operators we have. And so folks might recall that in the fall of 2022, we renegotiated the ATU agreement relative to how we could hire train operators. And so we started to have some additional success with being able to hire candidates both from internal pools as well as external resources. And so as we do that, we wanted to, again, take a look at how much service we're operating. As we went to make the decision, we analyzed our current ridership. These numbers from February, on the left side, you'll see Green Line. We were at almost 800,000 rides for the month with over 1.5 million rides in the first 2 months of the year, which is up 28% from the same period last year. But we're still down 21% from 2019. Weekends are quite a bit lower than weekday on Green Line, and that's because of that heavy influence from the University of Minnesota. The Blue Line has a little bit different ridership characteristics. It's less riders per day. We came in at just under 500,000 rides for the month, and we're just shy of 1 million rides for the year. That's pretty steady with 2023, and so we're looking at that, but it's still down by about a third. Weekends are very similar to weekday, and that's heavily influenced by the lack of 5-day-a-week commuter travel especially from the South End Park and Rides into downtown Minneapolis. And so knowing all of that, we wanted to analyze, as I've mentioned a few times, what do we think would happen if we increased the frequency but had 2-car trains operating instead of 3-car trains? And so we reviewed recent maximum onboard counts with the current 15-minute frequency, and then looked at what would happen if those were 2-car trains operating every 15 minutes. What we saw is that it would be mostly okay, but there were 3 times of each morning where on the University of Minnesota campus, for about 3 stations, kind of the Stadium Village, East Bank and West Bank, where we'd have some pretty significant overcrowding. It could come and go if we'd have anyone left behind, but it may be uncomfortable or undesirable for our customers. And so that's not something that we want to just go right into. And then on the weekends, even with the 15-minute service, we would not expect to see overcrowding with 2-car trains. But for the end of events and pre-ridership things for U.S. Bank concerts, Twins games, major events like that. And so then we said, well, what if we operate 12-minute frequency with the 2-car trains? What does that look like? And so we would expect that on the Green Line, that problem of the quote-unquote overcrowding would largely go away. And each car would feel more like it did in 2019, which was an acceptable level for our customers at that time. We would not see a significant change on Blue Line because of that improved frequency. Some more trains per hour would allow the passenger demand to spread out across that. And we're really optimistic about being able to do that, and again, right-size the number of vehicles that are operating at any given time. And again, as was noted, and might be intuitive, but with more frequent service on the weekends, we still, on non-event days, would not expect to see overcrowding on either line. And so, given that information, we want to move forward and start to gain some additional experience and feedback. And so, what we're looking at, starting as soon as this weekend, would be to utilize two-car trains on Saturday and Sunday service days when we're not expecting those heaviest loads. And so we'll be deploying strategically three-car trains when we have major events like the Minnesota United and the Twins. But on the weekends when we don't have those events, we'd be looking at using two-car trains on a more regular basis. You know, as I mentioned, our data supports this, and it was a really great team effort from of course, the rail operations and maintenance teams, as well as the strategic initiatives and service development groups, to be able to engage and then try to make sure that we can solicit feedback from our customers about any both impacts that they're experiencing or concerns that they have going into this effort. And so some council members who were here in 2022 might remember that we had done a pilot related to the Safety and Security Action Plan, and then we stopped doing that because we weren't running as frequent service starting in the fall of 2022. This is unrelated to the Safety and Security Action Plan. This is focused on the maintenance activities. However, we have the data from that pilot period. We know how to collect it, and so our teams are ready to also gain experience to see if there are some side benefits for the customer experience when we move in that direction. We have robust communications planning, including advanced communications that we anticipate sending out starting tomorrow. The on-platform messaging and will be something that we're keyed in on, especially on the days where we're operating in a two-car train mode, just to make sure that customers have the understanding of what to expect when they're waiting on the platform. And then on-platform signage is coming, and then, as noted here, was seeking additional feedback from the TAAC members. And then, almost done, but the next two steps would be starting in June. The University of Minnesota will be on a summer session, and so that would be an opportunity for us to utilize two-car trains on non-event days, including weekdays. And so I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because we'll have a few weekends to gain experience here in the spring, but that would be the natural next step. We would continue to plan that three-car service when we have the larger events, and we would expect the demand. But again, the data supports this, and it'll give us even more opportunity to solicit feedback from our customers. And then finally, I think this is some great news, is that we're still moving forward, kind of full speed ahead, wanting to improve that service frequency to 12 minutes coming up in August. 17th is when our quarterly service changes go into effect, and so what we'd be looking to do there is again continue to utilize two-car train service even when the University of Minnesota is back in session, but we'll have more frequent service, and so we'll be monitoring that closely to make sure that we don't have overcrowding or negative customer impacts, and that we continue to identify those dates with the highest demand to be able to operate three-car trains on a more limited basis. And so we want to continue to hire the train operators, our maintenance teams, and really look at trying to restore 10-minute service even in the future. We know, I know as a rider, I think many of you do as well, that there's something really nice about every 10 minutes having that train service and not being needing to follow a schedule. And so we're pushing really hard to be able to achieve that with trying to improve some areas of workforce attraction as well as retention. And so with that, thank you for your time and be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Brian. Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Brian. I love reports like this. It's really interesting to think about the changes to come and the benefits. I was at an event earlier today, a State of the City in one of the communities that I represent, and the mayor of the city talked about the challenges that they are facing as it relates to the baby boom generation retiring. How big a challenge is that for us within Met Transit? We don't talk about that a lot. We talk a lot about hiring new employees, but we don't talk about the ones that are going out and the timing of that? I'm curious.
Yeah, Madam Chair and Councilmember Vento, it's a big challenge, and we've sort of identified that need for a number of years. It's one of the key elements of our workforce task force internally, is looking at what are the best indicators we have to be able to identify and plan for upcoming separations, namely retirements. We can use demographic information to predict some of it. We don't have, like some other industries, hard and fast retirement dates, but we can use historical data to give us pretty good indications based on tenure and age and those types of things on when we may see those pockets start to emerge. It's something we've been experiencing for about the last almost 10 years now. It's been a lot more pronounced and certainly has been one of the primary drivers, especially in our technical areas, on why we've not been able to keep up quite as well. So I think that combined with work looking at the significant wage increases to try to be more competitive in the market, as well as continuing to try to work really hard on workforce development programs so that we're able to build our own staff to be able to fill some of those positions. There's not, at least from my perspective, I don't think there's going to be a one-size-fits-all approach. There's not a silver bullet out there, but trying to plug into the enterprise-wide agency or workforce task force is really important, and I'm really optimistic.
Thank you.
All right, additional questions or comments? I'll just say I'm really excited about this, and especially starting to move to shorter frequency or more frequency, even being out with our listening sessions this winter. And that was a couple very cold days, and standing doing those sessions on the platforms, and you're out there for 15 minutes, you start to realize what 15 minutes in the cold feels like. And so, but we heard that from a lot of people, that, that they really appreciated, like similar to what we have in the ABRT system, that every 10 minutes really is a profound difference to their experience during the day. So I'm really glad we're starting to move that direction. So looking forward to hear how this goes. But thank you. Any additional questions or comments from anyone? All right, very good. Well, that concludes our business for the evening. So if there's no objection, all right, we are adjourned.